Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Doctor of Education webinar. This is our first webinar in a series of webinars that we will be doing on the Doctor of Education program. We are very excited to launch it with our information session tonight. But stay tuned and please join us again for one of our upcoming webinars. You'll get to hear from current students, faculty, and learn more about funding in those upcoming webinars from now through the application deadline. So we are going to kick us off here tonight with our first information session. So for tonight's agenda, we'll introduce ourselves so you get to know a little bit more about us. We'll give a brief overview of the university at large and then also the School of Education, and then an overview of the Doctor of Education program. Finally, we'll cover our admissions requirements, our application timeline, some tuition and financial aid resources, and then at the end, we will allow time for a Q&A. So at that time, you can use the Q&A function here in Zoom to ask your questions. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out to you within a few days after tonight's recording. So if you missed something or you want to go back and rewatch, you are able to do that. So first I'll introduce myself. My name is Serena Stewart. I'm Associate Director of Admissions here in the School of Education. If you have already started to have conversations with the admissions office about the EdD program, most likely I am the person behind the emails, phone calls, and meeting with you one-on-one. This is one of my favorite programs to talk about and to share with our prospective students. So really excited to kind of start us off for the fall 2026 season.
Everyone. My name is Liz Woodward, and I'm excited to share information about this transformative doctoral program that's designed specifically for working education professionals like yourselves. I work with Serena. I am in enrollment management services, and I really want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to join us tonight. I do want to acknowledge that choosing to pursue your doctoral degree is a significant decision. It's going to require a careful consideration of your personal, professional, and academic goals. And our hope is that at the end of tonight's session, you'll have a clear understanding of what it takes to be in the EdD program and what makes our EdD program unique, and whether it aligns with your aspirations and career goals for educational leadership. So we're very excited to have you this evening, and I'll turn it back over to Serena.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. So sharing a little bit more about Hopkins as a whole. So we are America's very first research university, and that makes us intellectually diverse, driven by curiosity and global focus. We are uniquely positioned within the field of education and in research as a whole because of our unique history. So we have more than 24,000 undergraduate and graduate students enrolled across all of our 9 divisions. And for 36 years in a row, we've put more money into research than any other US academic institution. And that is because we believe in research and we know that it has the power to transform and save lives. And the university reaches into nearly every corner of the globe, conducting research, training, and related activities in over 150 countries. So when you join Hopkins, you are joining a large academic community across the globe that is engaged in transformative research. So this gives you a little bit of breakdown of the divisions here across Hopkins. School of Education is just one of the divisions in the entire university. We also have some other divisions that you're probably familiar with: our School of Medicine, School of Nursing, School of Engineering, Arts Sciences, Public Health. So we are a school that specializes in many different fields and industries across the globe, and are really researchers and highly ranked in each of these industries. So just to take it from the big picture of Hopkins as a whole to the School of Education. So in the Hopkins University division, the School of Education here is about 1,164 students that are currently enrolled, so we're a little bit of a smaller division. We offer only graduate degrees, 10 master's degrees, 2 doctoral programs, and 2 graduate certificates. We have over 109 full-time faculty and over 25,000 School of Education alumni. These alumni are engaged with the school. They are also very diverse, located in many different countries. So when you graduate from the School of Education, you're joining that alumni network. We're consistently ranked within the top 20 from the US News and World Report, many times in the top 10. And our school awards over 10 or 500 degrees annually. And we love our graduation ceremony. Typically has fireworks and it's really fun. So we love being a part of that. And when our graduates reach that destination, they become alumni and then go and impact the world. So who studies here at SOE? A little bit of a breakdown of who we are. We've got 42 states represented in our student body, plus DC, Puerto Rico, and then 58 countries of citizenship. We have 30% of our students from international countries, and 32% of our student body is first generation. So we've got a diverse network of programs online and on campus. About 55% of our students are enrolled in an online program like our EdD program, and 45% of our students are in Baltimore on our campus. And this is a really diverse community of students who are learning in education policy, research, leadership, counseling in the school counseling setting and in the clinical health counseling setting. So with that overview, I will go ahead and turn it over to Liz to talk more in depth about the EdD program specifically.
Thanks, Serena. So we're going to narrow our focus a little further and look at our program vision and mission. So we're going to start from the larger framework of our EdD program. So our EdD program was designed really with a clear vision to impact the globe, preparing education practitioners to think both critically about problems within their educational environments and to develop deep understanding and insights needed to lead positive change and sustain change. Notice that we emphasize education practitioners rather than just educators. Our students in the EdD program come from K through 12 schools, higher education and corporate training, and other areas such as nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and educational technology companies, excuse me. What unites them is their commitment to improving educational outcomes and their desire to approach challenges with a greater sophistication and evidence-based strategies. So you'll hear across Johns Hopkins this idea of evidence-based kind of thinking, strategies, research, very important and a key driver for the school. So our mission emphasizes several key elements that distinguish us, our program. First, we engage with internationally renowned faculty who are really at the cutting edge research and education. Second, we really cultivate or work to cultivate curiosity and critical discourse. And that means really skills essential for educational leaders who have to navigate complex, politically charged environments. We particularly emphasize perspective taking, which is crucial in education, where stakeholders often have different priorities and viewpoints. Many of you probably live and work in environments this way. Our graduates learn to see problems through multiple lenses, from a student perspective, from a teacher, administrator, educational leader, an entrepreneur. And finally, we ground our work in social justice, systems thinking, appropriate research methods, and empirical inquiry. These aren't just academic concepts for us tools for creating meaningful change. Who is our program ideal for? This is a question I think Serena and I get a lot, and I think it's a really important one. Our EdD is specifically designed for experienced practitioners who want to deepen their impact. And by experiences, we're really looking for professionals who've demonstrated leadership in educational settings, organizations, and want to take their thinking and problem solving capabilities to the next level. You'll see in our experience, and the ideal candidate we really are looking for is seeking to analyze, critique educational practice and research from that social justice and systems perspective. So this means that you really have to have had some experience moving beyond quick fixes to understand root causes of educational challenges and how different interventions might affect various stakeholder groups. This program is an action learning program, quite frankly. So you are using your environment as your laboratory to build your doctoral dossier and other things we'll talk about a little bit later. We want students who are committed to applying relevant methodologies to address these critical challenges in education. This might involve quantitative research, qualitative inquiry, design thinking, analysis, or program evaluation, whatever methods are most appropriate for your particular specific problem that you'll be studying, which we will call later in the presentation your problem of practice. And that's going to guide you throughout your entire EdD experience. A key outcome we emphasize is the ability to integrate research and practice-based knowledge. Too often, research and practice kind of exist in separate silos. To learn to bridge these worlds using research to inform practice and how practice can inform those research priorities. Finally, really, we develop leaders who can communicate effectively to diverse audiences about educational research experiences, processes, policies, and institutions. So whether you're representing a school board, writing a policy brief, or leading a community forum, you really will come away from this program with the skills to translate complex ideas into action research, or actionable insights. We can move to the, thank you. Okay, program at a glance. Really, when we're looking at that very simple slide, let me give you the basic structural overview of our EdD program. We do require a minimum of 90 credits beyond to think about. We actually take your master's degree as your first 36, you earn a master's degree, and you will earn 54 credits in this program or take about 18 courses, and that comprises the 90 degrees. So it's really combining that advanced study of 54 credits and your earned master's degree to come to a total of 90 credits. This really reflects the comprehensive nature of the doctoral education experience. However, we recognize that many of you already have, you have master's degrees and significant graduate work, and it's sort of built in or enveloped into that in our structure. A master's degree is required for admission, and we transfer those 36 credits from your previous work. Depending on the nature and how recent your prior graduate work is, you may be able to transfer additional 6 credits. Let's say after you took your master's degree, you got a postmaster's. So you may be able to complete less doctoral courses, but you can transfer after postmaster's credits. So it has to be credits earned after your master's degree, up to 6 credit hours to reduce those 18 doctoral courses or 54 credits to 42. Typically, our program takes between 3.5 to 4 years. The exact timeline is really going to depend on the number of courses you take per semester and whether you decide to take courses during our summer terms. The structure reflects our commitment to making the program accessible, flexible, for working professionals while maintaining the same rigor and comprehensiveness expected of a doctoral degree from Hopkins. Okay. Specialization options for fall 2026. We're offering 4 areas of interest that reflect really current priorities and emerging challenges in education. And these areas are really designed to be both timely and enduring, addressing needs while building knowledge, skills that will remain relevant, we hope, throughout your career. Our entrepreneurial leadership in education focuses on innovation, change management, developing sustainable solutions to educational challenges. This area is particularly relevant for those interested in educational startups, school kind of turnaround efforts, or leading innovation initiatives within traditional educational settings. Our learning design and technology addresses really the intersection of pedagogy and technology. And this isn't just about technology and education, but understanding how to design effective learning experiences that leverage technology appropriately and equitably. And our neuroeducation and neurodiversity represents our commitment to inclusive education. And again, you'll hear that word evidence-based practice. And this area combines insights from neuroeducation, psychology, neuroscience to improve or aims to improve outcomes for all learners, and particularly those with learning differences. And finally, our urban leadership specialization addresses the unique challenges of facing urban educational systems, including issues of equity, resource allocation, community engagement, systemic change, and complex organizational environments are just some of the areas. And so when we look at these areas of interest in front of you, you can literally come into the program and your problem of practice may require you to combine courses from these areas or take just one area. That's kind of where as you go into the program, you kind of define and work with your advisor to decide, here's my problem of practice. I want to look at it from an urban leadership lens or an entrepreneurship lens or a neuroeducation, neurodiversity lens. And this is how you kind of formulate a theme throughout your entire program. Well, you choose this area of interest. Remember that our program emphasizes interdisciplinary thinking, and that's where this comes in, the ability to choose. So a student focusing on learning, design, and technology might also want to integrate or collaborate with urban leadership on a project, let's say addressing digital equity in urban schools. That might be an intersection or example of an intersection from those. Okay, next. Okay, program features. Okay, so we really want to look at several features that make our EdD program distinctive. First, we take a rigorous, relevant approach that emphasizes both systemic and social justice perspectives. This means that we don't just look at what works, but for whom it works, under what conditions, and what potential unintended consequences those have. So one unique aspect of our program is that we encourage students to communicate research and modalities other than just scholarly writing. You might have seen that in a dissertation, or you might have recognized that. We have a very kind of progressive look at that. So while traditional academic writing is very important, educational leaders need to communicate through digital media, community forums. So we'll help you develop these communication skills to be able to use this full range of communication. Our 4 year, 3.5 to 4 year time frame allows for focus on process rather than just production. So many doctoral programs rush students through graduation. You take your coursework, boom, boom, boom. But we believe that the thinking process you develop, how you analyze problems, design, evaluate impact, are just as important as your final dossier project. We offer online asynchronous instruction with what we call synchronous support, which means you can access your course materials and complete assignments on your schedule while still having regular opportunities for real-time interaction with faculty and peers. And I think that's a really big distinction. And finally, our doctoral dossier is embedded with coursework rather than being a separate capstone experience. So this means you're working on your final dossier throughout the entire part of your program, beginning to end, getting continuous feedback and support rather than taking all your courses and then boom, having to write a 5 chapter applied dissertation or dossier. So it's really you're building pieces of this as you go along. And as I mentioned earlier, you're focusing your problem of practice through one of those lenses that we talked about in the areas of interest. And you're building that with your faculty mentors and advisors throughout the course of your program. And we could go on to curriculum. Okay, another simple slide. Sorry, I'm talking way more than the content in my slide, so I apologize. But our curriculum is organized into 4 main components. Each is serving a specific purpose in your development as an educational leader. Foundations of Education is 15 credits or 5 courses, and that provides the theoretical, philosophical grounding you need to understand education in its broad. Examine questions like, what is the purpose of education in a democratic society? How do issues of race, class, socioeconomic status, and gender shape educational experiences? How do different philosophical perspectives influence educational policy and practice. Those are just examples of some of the things. In the second grouping of the courses in the curriculum structure is applied research. That's 12 credits or 4 courses to develop your capacity to conduct, again, rigorous inquiry about educational problems. You'll learn various research methodologies, as like we talked about earlier, quantitative, qualitative, and develop skills in research design, data collection and analysis, and research ethics. Importantly, these courses emphasize applied research that can inform practice and policy. And finally, the doctoral dossier research, that's 12 credits. It's not an applied dissertation. This is a very progressive kind of new form of doing that, but it provides intensive support as you develop your final culminating project. Some schools call it a capstone. We call it a dossier research project. And these aren't just independent study courses. They're structured experiences where you work closely with your faculty mentors and you're receiving continuous feedback, including from your peers who are looking at the same dossier, they're looking at the same capstone and facing similar challenges. So you're going through this together. And finally, those areas of interest. Those are the areas we just went down: entrepreneurial leadership, urban leadership, neurodiversity, and neuroeducation. Allow you to develop expertise in your chosen specialization while also exploring related areas of interest. Some students use these credits to develop complementary skills, taking business courses to support educational entrepreneurial interest, or maybe a course in public health to inform school wellness initiatives. So there is opportunity when we talk about interdisciplinary to potentially take some of your electives in other schools with, of course, the approval of your faculty mentor advisor. And finally, if we can go on to our next slide, which is doctoral dossier, and then kind of a project overview of that. The doctoral dossier is the final and really the most significant requirement for the EdD degree. But it's not something you don't just face this like boom at the end of your program. Instead, it's a culmination of independently completed but closely interrelated projects that you develop throughout your time with us over those 3.5 years. The projects are embedded with coursework and distributed across basically your time in the program, which means you're always working towards your final goal while getting regular feedback and support. This approach kind of reduces the sense that you're isolated and it does not overwhelm you, that many doctoral students experience when facing kind of the traditional dissertation process. Also, we fully recognize most of our students, including many of you, are working full time and doing this program. So we try to pace the program so that you're able to complete that, get the same kind of rigor and distinction in what you're learning at a different pace. Your dossier is going to focus on the problem of practice. And the problem of practice we'll talk about a little bit later, but within the context of your professional practice, this isn't an abstract academic exercise. It's directly relevant and needs to be directly relevant to challenges you're facing or want to address in your professional or work environment. So it's really important as you get started to think about what problem you would like to tackle. This might be improving, let's say, student engagement in an urban high school, or developing inclusive practices for teachers integrating educational technology and AI. AI. The goal is to develop work that has potential for significant change within your context of practice and implications for policy. It's literally, what brick am I going to put into the wall? What question do I want to tackle? And where I'm going to add research to that. Our graduates have gone on to implement their dossier projects in their organizations, present findings at national conferences, and influence policy discussions, local, state, and national. So we can go on to our structure. Okay, so our dossier structure is based on what we call Boyer's 1990 framework for 4 scholarship domains, which is recognized as different but equally valuable forms of scholarly work. That's where the whole premise of the dossier versus the applied dissertation comes from. So for project 1, in your first year, you're going to focus on scholarship of integration. And this is really a systems examination of your problem or practice that helps you understand broad context, stakeholders, contributing factors. You're not just identifying a problem, but analyzing how it connects to the larger system structure and identifying leverage points for change. Okay. In year two, you're going to focus on scholarship of teaching or the scholarship of application. The scholarship of teaching involves developing, implementing, and evaluating educational interventions, perhaps a new curriculum, professional development program, or instructional approach. And the other option, the scholarship of application, is going to focus on using knowledge to address practical problems such as policy development, program evaluation, or organizational change initiatives. By year three, project three involves um, the domain you didn't choose in year two. So if you chose scholarship of application in the beginning, you're going to be doing scholarship of teaching in the following. Or as an alternative, you can do scholarship of discovery, which involves conducting original research to generate new knowledge about your problem of practice. Finally, in your final semester, you're going to defend your dossier orally in your final year. And I know this seems overwhelming, but it's broken down. Again, it's paced. So this isn't just a presentation about your work, but it's a scholarly conversation about your problem of practice, your approach to addressing it, the implications of your findings for practice and future research. Again, it's that brick in the wall. And so I would like to provide not certainly not to make anyone feel anxiety, but to give you a sense of what our students do in real life examples. Let me share some examples of actual student dossiers to help you envision what this might look like. One of our graduates was interested in the relationship between teacher-student interactions and student self-worth. And this was a problem she was seeing in her own teaching practice and her own teaching environment. So for her integration project, she conducted a systems analysis of factors affecting student worth and educational changes. Her scholarship of discovery, it's that second piece, involved researching and examining how specific types of teacher-student interactions influence student self-perceptions of themselves. And for her third year, or her, kind of flipped, she did scholarship of application and teaching project. She created interactive, um, let me see, what did she had interactive pieces, community exhibit, I'm sorry, of artifacts submitted by teachers, items given to them by students that represented kind of meaningful connections. This wasn't just an academic exercise for this student, it became a traveling exhibit that helped teachers and communities understand the importance of relationships in education. And so this is an example kind of illustrates how our students create work that is academically rigorous while also having kind of an immediate real world impact. So this exhibit continues to be used in professional development today and has influenced how teachers think about their relationships with students. And I'll show this crazy diagram coming up next. It's a little busy, so brace yourself. Okay. Oh, no, that's not the busy one yet. Okay. All right. I spoke too soon, folks. But you'll see past student dossiers and, kind of this just examples how our students are really, kind of how they're really approaching the problem of practice. A lot of people kind of are like, oh, but it really is an opportunity to be creative. And what's really sticking with you now that you want to research in your environment? So, this example, kind of small and visual, hopefully everybody can see, is how these components kind of connect. So the student was interested in curricular equity audits as a tool for promoting, educational equity. So this shows how her problem of practice addresses non-representation in curriculum, leads to multiple interconnected projects. She analyzed student experiences of non-representation, examined teen reactions to equity audits, developed practical tools for conducting audits, and created a comprehensive toolkit that others could use. Notice how each of these components builds on and informs the others, creating kind of that comprehensive approach to her problem of practice. The result wasn't just academic knowledge, again, just like our first example, but practical tools that are now being used in schools and districts to examine and address things like cultural equity. And then our final past student dossier example, this is the crazy chart I was referring to. So it's a little, but this diagram shows the systematic approach another student took to implementing curriculum audits. Notice that this is just isn't just theoretical work. It's a complete process that begins with defining the vision and scope, right? And moves through stakeholder engagement, rubric selection, professional learning, audit implementation, data analysis, action planning, and evaluation. So the circular nature of this diagram really reflects the continuous improvement approach that characterizes effective leadership, right? The student developed this framework through her dossier work, and it's now being, again, used by multiple school districts. So that kind of gives you, this example really demonstrates, again, how EdD graduates create work that simultaneously grows that rigorous scholarship and also has practical guidance for other practitioners facing similar challenges. And the last one I think we're going to share with you, I'm thinking this is the last one, Serena, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is, kind of, this is really just kind of the range. So we're not really featuring a project here. I want to emphasize that our dossiers reflect a full diversity of educational contexts and approaches to scholarship. Our students just don't work on traditional US K through 12 settings, although you have seen some examples here, or only produce academic writing. We've had students focus on international contexts, including business education, independent schools, nonprofit educational endeavors. Others have developed partnerships with medical providers to improve health education, created AI tools for educational assessment, or even written children's stories to communicate research findings to broader audiences. Some students have used narrative and play writing to explore educational themes, employed photo voice techniques to amplify student voices, or developed research practice partnerships to kind of bridge gaps between academic research and classroom experience. So there's a wide range. And what unites all these projects is that they build on the students' past experiences and skills while developing new capabilities and pursuing what I call genuine curiosity. So we're not trying to turn practitioners into traditional academics. We're helping you become more sophisticated and effective leaders who can use multiple approaches to create that positive change. We can move on to support structures. Okay. Support structures. We recognize that the doctoral degree, while working full-time, requires substantial support. So we've developed multiple layers of assistance throughout the program. So your journey really begins with an online orientation before your first semester, followed by an annual face-to-face orientation, or what we call residency, that's held every July. And these experiences, you're encouraged to come to face, but we do have an online format for people who cannot travel. We do recognize that not everybody can leave where they're at. It can be synchronous, or we can have tape synchronous experiences for people who are unable to participate or travel. These experiences are designed to help you build connections with faculty and peers while developing the skills and knowledge you'll need for success. And Serena can share with us and during the Q&A. She's been to these residency experiences, and they're really transformative. So really wonderful opportunity to put a name to a face, to really meet people, to share ideas, to share challenges. So one of our most distinctive features is, that doctoral dossier faculty mentors. So you are going to be working with the same small group of students throughout the program. This means that you're going to develop close working relationships with faculty and students who understand your interests, challenges, and will grow with you over time. You also have what we call cohort leads. Those are students that are advanced in their second and third year who provide peer mentoring and a student success kind of or you have a professional advisor who can help you navigate some of the administrative and academic challenges. And the academic program coordinator, who is really your student success advisor, is Denise Wolford, and we have a nice picture of Denise at the end. And hopefully, over time, Denise will be joining us in our webinar series so that you can get a chance to meet her. So we offer writing and stats clinics for targeted skill development, library webinars to help you access and use resources effectively, and online and program cohort sites that serves as hubs for resource sharing. So both in Canvas and SharePoint, you'll have these kind of project management tools. This kind of comprehensive support really reflects our commitment to success. We want you to complete the program, but more importantly, we want you to love it and thrive while doing it. So the online orientation is next. You'll see the big word mandatory. This is a key part of the program. Your experience begins after you're admitted and before that July residency, with and before you even start taking courses with this. And this just isn't administrative housekeeping. This is carefully designed prep work for your doctoral level work in education. So for folks coming in and applying for fall 2026, if you're admitted and you accept your offer, you begin right away in late April, early May, starting to work on that online orientation modules. And that's to prep before you participate in the residency in July. So you'll during that online orientation preparation, you're going to engage with technology tools like VoiceThread, Qualtrics, which is a survey platform. You'll complete foundational learning modules about systems thinking and the nature of research that's going to inform all your work down the line. There is a library research component that ensures that you'll have skills to access the information you need in scholarly journals that uh, as a doctoral student, we also have collaborative institutional training, which provides research ethics. And many of you maybe have done that with an international research board, but knowledge you're going to need to have to conduct formal research or evaluating research conducted by others. We also have social justice training because this is a perspective central to our program's approach. You'll also access recordings from previous in-person orientations and take a tour of our EdD course environment. So that's just a little bit of a preview there. Finally, you'll complete several surveys that help us understand your background, your learning preferences and goals, and this information helps faculty tailor their teaching and helps us connect you with peers who share similar interests. On to the orientation residency, because I'm taking too long. I can see Serena's watching the clock. So face-to-face experience. So we talked about that a little bit. It's typically held in July, brings together online and on-campus students for intensive community building and learning. And again, while this can be completed completely virtually if necessary, we strongly encourage in-person attendance because of the relationships and connections you're going to develop. And what makes this special is that it's designed and led by our student advisory board or EdD student advisory board. So those are current students who understand what you need to succeed, what you're going through, and they work with our faculty and our program mentors and our administrative team to create programming that's responsive to your needs and interests. So the focus extends beyond program content to include community building, networking, program success strategies, and career development. So you'll meet, again, students from cohorts that are ahead of you who can share their experiences and insights and help you begin developing those peer relationships that are going to support you throughout the program. Many of our graduates tell us, and it was in one of the first slides, we had a picture of a group, and that was from our EdD residency. But most of this tell us that the relationships they formed during residency were critical and crucial to their success and continue to be important professional connections that they have after graduation. So that's good to hear. Okay, on to our admissions applications requirements. Now, because everybody's tired of hearing me talk, I'm going to turn it back over to Serena for a little bit so she can talk about the practical aspects of applying to our program. And there is no one better suited to do that than our own Serena Stewart. So Serena, back to you.
Thanks, Liz. So really quickly, we'll go through the steps to apply to the program. So at minimum, you need to complete your online application. The $80 application fee is waived for our EdD applicants, so that is waived for our doctoral students. You don't have to pay that, but typically that is there. You'll need to submit your resume. The program does require 3 years of experience in an education-related field. This does not have to be in the school context. We talked about how our program features people from different industries, business, medicine, corporate, public industries. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in a school, but it should be related to education. So you'll need to make sure that you have that highlighted on your resume appropriately. Your essay is your problem of practice. We've spoken in depth about that. For some of you, I saw some questions come in about this. It's only 750 words in your admissions application. So we know that you're not going to be able to fully flesh out your entire problem of practice within the admissions application. However, we do have on our website some questions to think about before you go in and formulate your essay, and some things to some questions to answer to help you to think about what is a problem of practice. Do I have it nailed down, so that you can complete that essay succinctly within that 750 words. There's 2 letters of recommendation required, one of them from your master's program and one of them from a professional research or a professional setting. This should be a mentor, a supervisor, an admin, somebody who can speak to your ability to take on doctoral work and write, think at the scholarly level that we are requiring within the program. And then the GRE test is optional. We'll need all of your official transcripts from everything you've completed post-secondary. So any undergraduate coursework you've done, master's and post-master's. Your undergraduate coursework, if any of that was transferred, if you've done institutions where you didn't complete a degree, we need all of those transcripts submitted in with your application. And then a virtual interview may be required. Selected candidates in the application process will be chosen for an interview. If you are selected, it is a recorded timed interview. You'll get all of the information from the program after you submit all of your other application materials and have a completed application. No, hold on. I'm in my Q&A box here and not on my presentation. Okay. So for international students, if we think about our international students, or if you are a US citizen and you've completed any education outside the United States, you'll need to submit a course-by-course evaluation of your academic credentials instead of that official transcripts. There are the credentialing evaluation agencies available. There's a full list on our website. World Education Services or the evaluation company are some of the most popular ones our students choose. But there's a whole list for other evaluation companies that are out there and listed on our website. And then if you are an international student, you must submit a passing Duolingo English test, IELTS, or TOEFL test score. Or if you have studied within English, you have 4 years of full-time coursework completed in English, or you have, if you're from a country that has English as a native language, then you can submit the English language waiver request. You find this within the application. So you'll want to go into the application, upload a statement of why you qualify for the waiver. The conditions for the waiver are also listed on the international website. So there's a very in-depth information for you. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and check out our international student website. Okay, moving on to our admissions timeline. So how long do you have to complete these requirements? What does it look like after you submit your application? So the application is open now. It opened last Friday. The deadline to apply, and this is the deadline to submit your application and all supporting materials, is January 21st, 2026. And that's your first milestone within the admissions timeline. As soon as you submit your admissions application, you want to then move on and submit your FAFSA for full consideration for any financial aid that we offer at our institution. In January to February, once the application review process starts, that's when select applicants start to receive invitations for a virtual interview. And then we aim to release all of our admission decisions in mid-March. Admissions decisions and so scholarship applications go out pretty quickly in relation to each other. So typically the same day or within the next couple of days, you'll receive your scholarship notification as well. So that way you have everything that you need to make a decision on whether or not you're going to accept your offer of admission and pay your enrollment deposit. And that deadline is April 28th. So that gives you a full view of the admissions process and the timeline, what to expect after you hit submit on your application. Moving on to financial aid. So this is the estimated financial aid for the 2025-2026 school academic year. So the estimated tuition is $2,380 per credit. Students are billed per credit per semester, typically because it's a part-time program and it's paced appropriately. Students are registering for 6 credits per semester. Your cost for a 3 credit course is a little over 7,000. There is a one-time enrollment fee that you pay at the time that you accept your offer of admission of $500. And then each semester there's a $175 registration fee. As we talked about earlier, that $80 application fee is waived for all of our doctoral applicants. And this is a really brief overview of our financial aid and scholarships. We are going to do more in-depth a webinar on navigating funding, especially for this program. But know that we do have an EdD initiative scholarship. This is specific multi-year funding for 3 years for our EdD students. It is need-based. You must submit a FAFSA in order to be considered. So you'll want to make sure you get that FAFSA in a timely manner for full consideration for this scholarship. In fall 2024, 82% of our students who were admitted received significant, substantial financial need, financial funding from this scholarship based on their need. We do have external scholarship resources available for you too. On our website, we have an external scholarships page where you can look at different scholarships that we offer or that our students have received outside of Hopkins. You can also look at scholarship.com or teacher.org for additional resources for external funding. And then we do have, in addition to that EdD Initiative Scholarship, our SOE Endowed Scholarships. These are a limited number of partial need-based scholarships available for this fall and spring semester each year. This one does require a separate application, but typically the students who have a completed application will hear from me starting in January, February, as you move through the application review process about these dates and deadlines for financial aid. So as long as you are checking your email, you will not miss these deadlines. We are very communicative to our applicants about all of this information. Like I said, that FAFSA is critically important for your financial aid, and all students are encouraged, whether or not they think they will qualify for funding, to submit that FAFSA. So now it's
And
time
if I could add
for,
just one point there, folks. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, just one quick thing on funding opportunities. We understand that the financial investment in your EdD program is substantial. And so this funding opportunities really are designed to make this more accessible. And this is through the very generous gift of one of our donors and the initiative scholarship. So last year, we had over 287 applicants, because I know this question is going to come up and people are going to say, well, how many people did you admit? We admitted 101, so our admit rate was about 60%, and about 65% of our students are taking the benefit of the EdD initiative scholarship. Because it is need-based, it is, international students have a separate set of opportunities. We have our Tan Chen scholarship, and we do have other forms of merit scholarship, but we also help students identify external scholarship opportunities. And we have quite a few that come out from the Gates Millennium Scholarship to AAUP to others. The only point I want to add before we move on to the Q&A is that we have two representatives in financial aid. And so as you're thinking about applying to Johns Hopkins or wherever you're applying, the funding part of that conversation is just as important as the application. So at the time, as soon as you finish your application process there, and I encourage everyone to have a virtual information session or phone call appointment to sit down and kind of lay out what your cost of attendance is going to be, what scholarship opportunities you have, to look at that sooner than later. It should be part of the application process. I think the thinking is always like, whew, I got through the hurdle. I submitted my application. application. I'll wait to see if I get admitted. I wouldn't do that. It costs you nothing to fill out a FAFSA. It costs you nothing to sit down and talk to someone, but it's a really, really critical step. So with that, I'll turn it back to Serena.
Thanks, Liz. So we'll open it up to the Q&A. I know that we have a lot of open questions. So I'm going to go through and have Liz answer some of them live. I'll be typing some answers. Some of them I think we can group together. So first is about students in different professional settings. So one student's in the business industry, another one is in medicine, but then transitioning to an educational role. Can you just talk about the different industries that students come from and, how they can look at that 3-year professional requirement? Does that make
The
sense?
3-year professional requirement, the best way to kind of translate what this means from our faculty is they're really looking for someone who is mid-career, someone who is established. You could be in a business organization, you could be in medical education, but the focus of this program is process driven and is focused on educational leadership. So we've had people come from the military, organizational development, nonprofits. It really depends on your particular situation. But what I would encourage you to do, and Serena can help facilitate this, if you would like to really, if you have concerns about your professional environment, or if you're transitioning to a professional environment, about this program and how you would really center yourself around a problem of practice, one, I would encourage you to speak to one of our what I call faculty mentor admissions reps. Those are people that teach in the program that can kind of evaluate your personal set of circumstances, which you're looking at, to see if this is a right fit for you. It's hard to answer without having a more in-depth conversation about what you do or where you're transitioning from and what your focus is. So we can certainly I recommend first sitting down with Serena, if you have basic questions about the program, and two, we can try to connect you for either conversation, email chat, Zoom chat, whatever fits your schedule, with one of our faculty to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to focus on. Is this a good fit for this program?
Awesome. Thank you. And then on the same lines, could you talk a little bit about prior research experience and how much of that is important to be qualified for the program?
I don't think prior research experience is critical. In other words, you don't have to come in with basic and advanced stat, and you don't have to have taken research. Is it helpful? Yeah. I think this is really taking you front to end and giving you all the core concepts that you need. So you do not have to have prior research, professionally published research to get into this program. This is, again, a program for working professionals, for people that are not career academics. And it's very much applied in its focus and is very focused on action research. So you do not have to have it. It's nice to have. It's not necessary as you come into the program. We're going to work with you beginning to end. It starts right at orientation. And, in your first semester problem of practice, you're going to start digging into those.
Okay. And then we've got some students who are maybe currently in a temporary contract or thinking about how life circumstances could change throughout the program. Would it be a problem to like change jobs in the program with their problem of practice? What kind of accommodations or support is there for that?
There is support. Again, I would have a one-to-one conversation because it's a two-way street here. Our faculty want to make sure we're setting you up for the best experience possible, but I need to know more. And they will want to know more. I think it starts with committing to have a conversation with someone teaching, our basically our program director and department chair, who will kind of evaluate where you're at and honestly let you know, like if you're really in a transitory job right now and you can't find an environment that to do your problem of practice, because this is very much about taking real life challenges and studying them. She'll talk to you about options and tell you honestly if she feels that that's not going to be a good fit for you, and not going to really help you get through the program. Sorry, that's the best I can answer. I would need to know more.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. Most of these are so individualized. I'm finding I'm typing a lot. Like email me or talk to me about your specific circumstance. I'm happy to chat. So there's several of you who have either a second master's degree or finishing up your master's degree in summer before the program starts. And they just want to know, is that going to be a problem in starting in the fall?
No, I mean, what we're looking for is if you are in your final semester of your master's degree, you can be admitted under a status called admission with requirements, which basically means we're waiting for you to finish your master's degree and you're going to give us a conferred transcript after you do get that. The big thing to think about is that you must be done and have conferred your master's degree before the fall semester starts. So let's say August 25th, which is coming up, is the start of our fall semester. You must have conferred your master's degree to be able to continue in the program. And so, again, talk to Serena if there's an issue there, but we do admit people who are expecting degrees. And then once you turn in your final transcript, you move to full standing admission.
Okay, lots of funding questions now. So really quickly, I'm just going to quick fire. There is no 100% funding option. It is not a fully funded program. It is partial funding, but it is substantial. So that's why the FAFSA is critically important. There are opportunities for our international students. We have that Chen Scholarship. You can find more information on our website. And then also, please come back to our funding webinar. That'll be a little bit later this fall. Typically in November, we do that one. So that one will be a little bit more clear for you. I would suggest right now, focus on completing your application. Once your application is complete, especially if you complete it in November or earlier, then you can focus on funding, really securing those outside sources, as well as, getting everything in place for any additional information you need to give us and submitting your FAFSA. Let's see. And then there are a couple students who have either graduated from their master's degree a long time ago, or their program no longer exists and want to know about substitution options for those letters of recommendation. Liz, you just want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We prefer that you have one letter from an academic kind of context and professional letters, but we do understand. I mean, I couldn't find my master's faculty. They're all retired, at this point. So we do understand. The most important thing to think about is are your recommenders in a position to have evaluated you, your ability to write, critically think, and to perform research at the graduate level. And it could be a divisional head, it could be a superintendent, it could be someone who's worked with you, who is in the position to, and at a higher level than you are to assist your work. Usually considered acceptable substitutions. One note on the letters of recommendation. We require two, correct, Serena?
Yep.
Okay. Please don't give us six. And the reason I say that is it will slow down your application process. We need your best and final two people that best represent what you can do in this program. A lot of people tend to want to give us tons of accolades from various, and that's great, and we appreciate that, but it does slow down our ability to package and complete your application. So just an ask. But two, and if you're worried about whether a recommender is appropriate, we are here to answer those types of questions, but we do need to know a little bit more.
Yeah, great.
Okay, Serena.
I think that covers most of our questions. Yes, the presentation is going to be sent out to everyone, a recording. So don't fret if you miss something or you want to go back and revisit some of the information that was shared. You have the ability to rewatch the presentation. I will email that out to all of our registrants, whether you were able to attend live or not, next week. And then here's the contact information for myself and then also Denise. Denise is the student success advisor and program coordinator for our EdD program. If you want to be connected with a faculty member or have very specific programmatic questions, she would be your go-to. Anything financial aid or anything that is admissions related, that would be myself and our financial aid office. I partner with them. I work very closely with our financial aid team. So happy to facilitate any conversations with our financial aid team as well. So like I said earlier, this is a first in a series of webinars. You'll get to hear from some current students at a future webinar, as well as the faculty in the program, and more about our funding sources. There's also you also have the ability to connect with me in small group sessions. All of that information is available on our website. So you can also email me at soe-apply@jhu.edu. I enjoy working very much with our EdD students, and I just want to thank you all so much for your time here tonight. I know you're leaving a lot of questions unanswered, but I promise that we will get back to you if you just shoot me an email. Well, with that, we're going to close our webinar for the night. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing all of you apply to our program.
Thank you, everybody. We look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to receiving your application. Have a great night.